tonight on Elon Local News. We have coverage overseas on how Elon students studying abroad are affected by the terrorist attacks in Paris. Elon campus police are making strides towards a safer campus. We break down the new initiative and how it affects you. And to infinity and beyond, one local man's dream of space is blasting off. Elon Local News starts right now. Good evening, I'm Jackie Pascal. It's been a tough few days for those in France and around the world. Many are still reeling from the terror attacks, which killed 129 people and injured more than 350 in the capital city of Paris. ELN's Kaylee Tracy is in London with how Elon students abroad are dealing with this tragedy.
Elon students studying in London met on Saturday night to reflect on the tragedy in Paris and what it means for their time abroad.
We got a text message from one of our friends saying, "Are you okay? Like, I heard about the attacks. Just checking in." And we were like, "What are you talking about?"
More than 100 Elon students are studying in London, including juniors Liz Persall and Michaela Alaka, who were in Paris just a few districts away from where terrorists targeted and attacked 8 locations in the city this weekend.
Our biggest part of being afraid was we were right next to the Moulin Rouge, so we're thinking, what if they picked the Moulin Rouge instead of the Bataclan? Like, it could have been us.
Although they were able to make it out of the city safely early Saturday morning, they say the tragedy will remain with them forever.
I'm more aware that these things can happen to you, and usually it's just like you see it on the news and you're like, oh, like that's terrible, but like after this it's really actually affected me. Like you say pray for Paris, but like actually pray for Paris.
The attacks changed plans for some Elon students, including junior Nicole Mahoney. She said her mom canceled their Christmas trip to Paris after Friday's attacks.
I completely understood the reaction to everything that was going on. Definitely you want to be in the comfort of your own home instead of going overseas and hoping for the best and never really knowing what's going to happen.
Students aren't just concerned about safety in Paris, but they're worried about the threat to London as well.
My mom and dad and my sister were all calling me, and my aunt calling me, my grandma called me. Everyone was like, stay in your apartment.
On Tempo and other students say they will be extra cautious around London in the coming days. Exactly what Elon's London Center urges students to do. Students have been told to have a working mobile phone and stay connected with people from home and in London. Juniors Noah Gans and Ben Charette agree with the advice.
Definitely got to keep your eyes open and be smart about the decisions you make.
Despite remaining aware, they say the events won't affect their daily routines.
That's what lets a terrorist win, is if you let it affect you. So definitely still going to keep on doing our usual stuff.
Britain deployed special forces throughout London Saturday night after the city was placed on high alert. In a city where the police don't even carry guns, this increased police presence the past few days has been felt. Reporting in London, Kaylee Tracy, Elon Local News.
We spoke with Kaylee earlier today about the atmosphere in London and how Elon students are reacting.
A lot of students have voiced this personally, that since we are in such close proximity to where the attacks happened, and because we have actually been there, it hit home a little bit harder. And the fact that we are on severe alert has scared a lot of people.
More than 4,055 miles away from Paris, the Elon community rallied in a display of solidarity for the city. More than 100 students and faculty attended a candlelight vigil for France in front of Alamance Building Sunday night. The vigil and prayers and poems read by members of the Elon community, a moment of silence and words of remembrance by students. More than 130 luminaries were lit around Fonville Fountain, one for each victim of the attacks. Prior to the vigil, we sat down with Adrien Freiermuth, a junior from France who has his own connection to the attacks. Freiermuth lived in Paris for 15 years before coming to Elon and considers the City of Lights his home. He says he was devastated by the tragedy and encourages the Elon community to keep Paris in their thoughts.
And I just spent the entire evening just watching the news, scared, being angry, making sure everybody I knew, my entire family on my mother's side lives in Paris, making sure everybody was okay.
We're joined now by Senior Associate Director of Study Abroad, Paul Geis. Geis is the advisor for all study abroad programs in France and handled Elon's response during the tragedy. Mr. Geis, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So I know that the office must have been very stressful, and the first question I have for you is, what can students do to prepare for the high security nature of the city, especially with winter term coming up?
Sure. The most important thing is to follow the security information that we give them and follow the protocols that are given to them by Elon and also by the State Department. We enroll all of our students in the Smart Travel Enrollment Program with the U.S. Department of State for the winter term, and all of our semester students are encouraged to enroll themselves.
And so what were the emotions of the study abroad office when the news broke about the terror attacks in Paris?
Well, we tried to not deal with emotions and go right into action, and so that's what we did immediately, concern for our students who are in Paris and elsewhere, and so immediately start contacting students, families, and our partners abroad to determine the whereabouts of our students.
That was actually my next question.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you found out how students who were there, who were actually studying abroad there and also just traveling there on vacation there, how did you figure that out?
Sure, it's a combination of things. We only had 4 students studying in Paris this semester, so the easiest, quickest approach was for me to pick up the phone and call their families. We knew students would have contacted their families immediately. So by 5:30 on Friday, we knew that all of our students who were studying in Paris were accounted for. That was through phone calls to families, as well as a social media contact one of our staff members had. That then continued to get information through social media, through family contacts, and then from our partners. Many of our partners in other locations require or request that their students register travel outside the country for their weekends or breaks. So we started getting information from them.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking with us and thank you for answering my questions. We have news from Charlotte where Governor Pat McCrory announced he has asked the federal government not to send Syrian refugees to North Carolina until they answer further security questions.
And because of the most recent attacks in Paris and the very real possibility that one of the terrorists entered France as a recent refugee, I am now requesting that the President and the federal government cease sending refugees from Syria to North Carolina.
McCrory is the 13th state governor to declare their state will not take in refugees. The other governors said they would not admit new refugees in the wake of the attacks in Paris. McCrory requested additional background checks and criminal records before Syrian refugees are settled in the state due to concerns some refugees could be affiliated with ISIS. In an email sent to the student body this morning, University President Dr. Leo Lambert highlighted an increase in homophobic incidents on campus in recent weeks. Associate Provost of Inclusive Community, Brooke Barnett, says there have been 4 of these incidents on campus. Barnett tells us the suspects in 3 of these incidents were not Elon students. Without mentioning specific incidents, the email states, "And I strongly condemn such behavior as reprehensible, counter to the values of our honor code, and harmful to both the individuals directly and to the sense of community." President Lambert encourages students to stop by the Gender and LGBTQIA Centers table at College Coffee on Tuesday to sign a pledge of support. The University of Missouri has drawn a lot of attention this semester for how it's been handling racial incidents. Our Ashley Boley has a breakdown of what's been happening on their campus and online.
Elon students have been sharing this post on social media this past week, saying, "To the students of color at Mizzou, we student allies at Elon stand with you in solidarity. To those who would threaten your sense of safety, we are watching." But what is this all about? College students, faculty, and staff across the nation are expressing their solidarity with the University of Missouri this week, after a series of racial incidents led to the resignation of both the president and chancellor of the university. On separate occasions this semester, racially charged language was spoken to the Missouri Student Association president and members of the Black Legion Collegians, their black student government. The university then responded saying all incoming freshmen will be required to receive online diversity training. A group called Concerned Student 1950, named for the first black graduate student admitted to the university, blocked the president's car as it moved during the homecoming parade in October. The group then released a list of demands requesting University President Tim Wolf to step down since he did not take action quicker, according to The Atlantic. They also asked for more black faculty and staff and racial awareness. In early November, President Wolf said, quote, "Racism does exist at our university and is unacceptable," end quote. Wolf announced he was stepping down a week ago, and University Chancellor R. Bowen Lofton said he would remain chancellor at the university's main campus in Columbia, Missouri, until the end of the year when he would step down as well. Ashley Boley, Elon Local News.
While student bodies across the country are writing letters in support of the students at University of Missouri, as of this afternoon, Elon student government has not proposed any legislation to draft a letter. Elon SGA is set to hold their final meeting of the semester this Thursday. Closer to home, friends and family members are still mourning the loss of Elon Jr. Dimitri Allison. The 21-year-old died last Wednesday after falling from a residence hall at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Police ruled his death as suicide. Allison was a wide receiver for the Phoenix football team and played in all 9 games of the season before his death. A memorial service for Allison is scheduled for this Thursday at his high school, South Lake Christian Academy in Huntersville, North Carolina at 5 p.m. The Truett Center has offered to provide transportation for those who want to attend. Since last week, hundreds of students, faculty, and staff have come together to reflect and grieve. Our Mayor Sutch joins us with how our university is not alone when it comes to dealing with suicide on college campuses.
Jackie, according to Emory University, suicide is the second leading cause of death for people ages 25 to 34 and the third leading cause of death for ages 15 to 24. With 10% of college students having a plan for suicide, leading to more than 1,000 suicides on college campuses each year, the sudden shock of losing a friend and loved one is something colleges are no stranger to. Here at Elon, resources are made available to students. In an email sent last night by Dean of Student Health and Wellness, Janelyn Patterson, reminds students the school does offer confidential counseling services at no cost. Sessions can be made by appointment only, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 5, and on Friday, 8:30 to 4. You can schedule a session by calling 336-278-7280. Dean Patterson advises any member of the community who is worried about a student's well-being to report them using the online Student Concerns Report, which allows a faculty member to directly follow up with the student. ELN spoke with Dr. Andrew Lamb, Vice President of Medical Affairs for Alamance Regional Medical Center, to learn how people can best support those affected by suicide.
They don't have to necessarily say anything. They just need to be there. So a lot of times people avoid someone who's going through a traumatic event like the loss of a loved one because they don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. You can just sit with them and hold the hand.
In the past 5 days since Allison's death, those closest to him have spoken out, remembering their friend, son, and teammate. Freshman and ELN contributor Emmanuel Morgan played high school football with Allison at South Lake Christian Academy outside of Charlotte. Morgan says Allison convinced him to come to Elon, and to him his death was completely unexpected, but now sees his death as a teaching moment for the greater community.
Especially if you're feeling like down, if you're feeling like sad about something, suicide's not the best option. You can talk to someone, because if I knew if he was going through that, he could have just talked to me. So I feel like if anyone else needs help, I'm here, your best friend's here, anyone's here to help you.
We're joined now by Dean of Student Health and Wellness, Janelyn Patterson. Thank you so much for being here, Dean Patterson.
You're welcome, Meredith. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. My first question is, suicide seems to be an issue that people either do know or don't know about on college campuses. Why is that, and what can students do to maybe get those tough conversations started?
Well, I think that certainly as an entire society, we've got to come to grips that folks are struggling more perhaps than they have in the past. And while there are resources available, unfortunately, I think there's still a stigma associated with expressing sadness and depression and despair and sometimes suicidality. Certainly, if someone expresses sadness or depression or despair, that does not in itself mean someone's suicidal. And so that is a great way for us to gain entry into helping students, either getting them to counseling services. Some students want to go off campus and had rather participate in activities off campus, and we kind of keep those resources on our website as well. But, certainly to open it up so that people feel like that they can talk and that they can express sadness and despair, and that they know that their friends are going to accept that and help get them to resources or refer them to resources. Last year we initiated an online mental health screening for those students who may not be sure what's going on with them. And it's totally confidential as well, but we've also had some really good response from students saying it was a good way for me to learn that maybe it would help me to participate in counseling or to benefit from talking to someone. So that's a low exposure, low risk way for students to get information. So I think the first piece is really encouraging folks and reducing the stigma around help seeking, because I think Elon is such a happy place, and our students are highly motivated and intelligent and ambitious and all of those things. And when people feel like that they can't meet up to those standards, sometimes they begin to feel that depression and despair. Certainly, though, if someone thinks that or expresses intent to harm themselves or someone else, you want to get help immediately. You want to contact, we recommend that you call 911. People think immediately that someone's going to come and folks are going to get in trouble, or folks are going to, they're going to have judicial repercussions, and that's just not the case. Campus safety or the town police are there first to help. They'll generally do a baseline assessment with someone there. If the student can benefit from more assessment, then we get them to the hospital because we know that they're safe. And 90% of those students come right back within the next few days. So we certainly, though, if someone says they're going to hurt themselves, don't be fearful about calling 911.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And hope that we can all learn from those tips. Jackie, back to you. After the break, we ride along with campus police to learn about their newest initiative to keep students safe. And coming up, a local man is preparing for a journey that's out of this world.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat?
1 in 5 children struggles with hunger in America. Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
I will not be news today. I will not make headlines by going through a bad girl phase where I get that bad girl haircut where they shave just one side of your head. And I will not bring a Komodo dragon as my +1 to an award show, even though that would be awesome. I'm Olivia Munn, and I will not be trending today because there's a much bigger story that needs to be heard.
You may have seen Elon University police handing out flyers at crosswalks recently. It's all a part of their educational and enforcement program focused on traffic and pedestrian safety. Our Michelle Alfini rode along with campus police to see the new campaign in action.
Well, really, it's all about controlling what we can control, giving the power back to ourselves, and making sure that we are safe in our everyday interactions to the best of our ability.
Jeremy Short is an Elon University police officer. It's his job to make sure both cars and pedestrians are acting safely and legally when they move around campus. As part of the campus educational and enforcement campaign, Short says this role is getting extra emphasis, and so are infractions many Elon students overlook.
Jaywalking is the main one that we see around here. Jaywalking is extremely easy to do. All it is simply crossing a road or walking in the road outside of a area for pedestrians.
Most people think of cars when they think of traffic violations, but according to campus police, jaywalking is one of the most common violations at Elon. Because of this, one of the main focuses of the campaign is educating pedestrians on when and where they are able to walk. But Short says prevention efforts like pamphlets aren't enough.
It's something that we try to tell people all the time, and we can hand out as many pamphlets as we can, but really it's all about a conscious effort from the people to understand that they need to watch out for their own personal safety.
Jaywalkers aren't the only ones the campaign is targeting. Back behind the wheel, officers like Short are looking for ways drivers are putting pedestrians and themselves at risk. Between this morning's 9:25 and 10:50 classes, I watched Short pull over a driver for driving in front of a pedestrian walking in a crosswalk.
His example in particular, he was dropping off somebody and he was just in a hurry, which is not an excuse for breaking the law. That's just what was happening for him in his day.
This is the campaign's second year, but according to Chief Franks, there is no specific incident to put this campaign into action. Looking at the numbers, it may be surprising to see there aren't many incidents that happen on campus. From 2011 to 2013, only 7 accidents involving pedestrians were filed in Elon, where more than 6,000 were filed across the state of North Carolina. Still, Short says just because they're not common doesn't mean they're not significant.
Certainly, we don't have many of them, but whenever one, it only takes one, to ruin your life.
And Short's advice to anyone walking around campus?
Be observant. Look around. Make sure that you are looking out for yourselves because no one else is.
Michelle Alfini, Elon Local News.
The campaign started last Wednesday and is in effect until this Wednesday. Elon University Police will announce locations where they're concentrating their efforts through their Twitter account at ElonUPolice. And when we come back, how one local group is cooking dinner and giving back to the community with some international help. And next, some of the newest regulations affecting Burlington farmers. Those stories and more next on Elon Local News.
I will not be news today. I will not make another push to be the first man in space with frosted tips and a puka shell necklace. And I will not go viral when my terror is caught on camera when I finally realize that in the vacuum of space, no one can hear you sing. I'm Lance Bass, and I will not be trending today because there is a much bigger story that needs to be heard.
The Elon men's soccer team is back in the NCAA tournament. Earlier this afternoon, the Phoenix received an at-large bid to play in the tournament. The Phoenix will host Winthrop University on the first round on Thursday night from Rudd Field, and is just one of the 7 schools across the country to finish with 13 wins. Tied for a program best, the Phoenix looks to end a rough stretch, having lost 4 of its last 5 games, including a shootout loss and penalty kicks to Delaware in the CAA tournament this weekend. If the Phoenix win, it will kick off at Clemson on Sunday. Elon beat the Tigers in the first round of the NCAA tournament in 2013. Our Andrew Feather spoke with a Burlington man whose dreams of space seemed light years away, but are now a reality.
I can still remember being in the sky the day that the lunar landing occurred, and I kept thinking, I can do that someday.
Michael Brennan was flying intelligence missions in Vietnam the day Apollo 11 landed on the moon, but he always wanted something a little higher and a little faster than planes.
I flew relatively low and slow.
But soon his dream will be a reality, and Brennan will be blasting off at 2,600 miles per hour. Last year he applied for admission into Virgin Galactic's commercial astronaut program and was accepted. Now he is waiting to become one of its first passengers to head into space.
I'm counting on the end of 2017.
Growing up, Brennan always wanted to be an astronaut, so he went to the United States Military Academy to chase his dreams.
I watched the early astronauts in training and in their flights and realized that most of them, Alan Shepard, Frank Borman, Ed White, had gone to the military academies.
But the Vietnam War called. When his tour ended, Brennan didn't have enough jet time to meet NASA qualifications, so he looked to engineering to get to space, attending Stanford for a master's in aeronautics.
That was exciting, but I wasn't capable of handling high-level math. I tried teaching, I wasn't a very good teacher, and medicine seemed like the next right pathway.
So Brennan received his Doctor of Medicine degree from the University of Texas and again tried to get into orbit, being nominated by the Army for NASA's Mission Specialist program. After being one of 30 finalists, he was not selected.
My name was not on the list, so I went home to San Antonio very sad.
He moved to Burlington for a position at Alamance Eye Center, where he stayed for nearly 30 years before retiring in August for another chance to pursue his dream.
Now I'm ready to fly again.
But space travel has its risks. In 2014, Virgin Galactic's VSS Enterprise crashed during a test flight. Brennan says the accident didn't give him second thoughts.
I've been ready to do this for 50 years, or more than 50 years, and I'm still ready. So I don't have any troubles.
At 72, Brennan is one of the older future astronauts signed up with Virgin Galactic, but participants range from younger than 10 to older than 90, with more than 50 countries represented. And while many are looking forward to feeling weightlessness, Brennan is excited for something else.
To see the Earth from 65 miles, I can't wait for that.
Andrew Feather, Elon Local News.
And when we come back, we pass the stuffing with students from all around the world.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to the shelterpetproject.org and meet a few who are in a shelter near you. Harlow, oh, she's one great listener who loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to the shelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
As fall settles in, so do new laws on farmers. Our Brian Anderson sat down with one of the owners of Redbud Farm to learn how government regulation is influencing local agriculture.
Welcome to Redbud Farm, a small certified organic farm in Burlington, owned and operated by Clay Smith and his wife Nancy Joyner. Since starting Redbud Farm, Smith and Joyner have had to follow government demands.
There are materials and practices that are part of the protocol for organic farming and vegetable production. And so you just have to learn what those are.
Smith has been working on farms his entire life, but faced tough government regulations when trying to become certified organic.
We have an annual 4-hour inspection just to verify that we are doing what we say we do. And I appreciate that because it gives integrity to the term organic.
Part of the process for Redbud Farm's organic certification involves more than you'd think.
It's about a 40-page application listing the materials that you intend to use in your practices and your crop rotation and borders around the field from neighboring farms.
Regulations like this create an increased divide between farmers and government, according to Elon University's environmental sciences professor Gerald Dorsett.
A lot of government agencies, I think, would have a tendency to say there's not too many regulations. The typical farmer is going to tell you that there are.
Regardless of individual opinions on regulations, Smith says the government must do a better job of encouraging younger people to get into farming.
The average age of a farmer, in terms of the national picture, and probably in North Carolina as well, is up in the high 50s. When you have an average age of 55, then you've got to have some young people coming into it.
According to the most recent U.S. Census of Agriculture, the number of North Carolina small farms between 1 to 9 acres has declined by 17% since 2007 to just more than 4,000, while the average age of farmers has increased. Smith argues this has partly resulted from a lack of economic motivation and says he wants to see
more financial incentive to help young people buy land and get started with farming.
Brian Anderson, Elon Local News.
Campus has seen a lot of changes this year, and the College of Arts and Sciences will be undergoing significant changes as well. The college is currently looking for a new dean. Department Chair of History and Geography, Dr. Charles Irons, says the search committee has finalized the candidates, including current interim dean Gaby Smith, Dean of College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay, Scott Furlong, and Dean of Faculty at Colby College, Paul Greenwood. And that will do it for us on this Monday night. This has been the final Elon Local News broadcast of the semester. For all of us here at Elon Local News, I'm Jackie Pascal. Have a great rest of your semester, Elon.